So welcome back to all. Here we are on the last part of our first lesson of the toolbox on sustainability and climate change for entrepreneurs. This course is promoted by the Rotary Passport Club of Social Entrepreneurs, and I'm Domenico. And on the last part of our lesson, we are going to deal with the ability to define the level and scope of sustainability. So we already see this graph that basically resume the shift that we need to make from like the conventional, the generative models towards sustainable models, and as well, if we want to go further, towards regenerative models. So basically, we already seen this definition, that is the definition of sustainable development that has been done into the Earth Summit of Rio de Janeiro in 1992. We faced this event and we talk about that during the first part of our lesson. But basically, which is the principles, which is the core of the sustainable development? We can say that is a kind of intergenerational equity. Sustainable development is the one that allow the current generation to develop, not harming the possibility of the next generation to live in the same condition, with the same resources and the same probability of the current one. Just recalling an ancient Indian way of saying, actually, we are like not owning the earth, but we are renting them for our children, and so we have to left for them in a good condition and with the same probability for them to have the benefits and the wellness that we achieve. And basically, this is the main goal that a sustainable development business, a sustainable development activity need to achieve. And even if we are like improving the state of the world, we are going far beyond sustainability. And we are leading towards the regenerativity. So, which are the sustainability, we can say, features? Basically, sustainability can be considered as a multidimensional concept. As you can see on this graph that is made by three circles, this is the classical definition of sustainability, in which we have to consider the environmental sustainability that deals with the interaction with the environment, and for example, the consumption of resources, the environmental footprint, and so on. We have the social sustainability. So every action, every business, every activity, of course, is inserted into like a community, into a social system, and it has not to harm the social system itself and even each individual that is part of that community. And of course, the economical part. Every business we are already like clearly see on economic activities is sustainable also in time if it is achieving like a balance between the expenses and the costs and the revenues and so on. So these three are the classical elements that define sustainability of a process. That can be a business and a social effort or volunteer activity, whatever. And between the three main, there are also some overlapping areas. So the social environmental, the environmental economic, the economic social, and so on. So this like graph is helping us, for example, to design our processes, our activities, considering the sustainability over a multidimensional approach. And this kind of approach can help to design better our interaction, our value chains, and so on. This is not the only, we can say, conceptualization of sustainability. I want to propose another one that is slightly different. That is the concentric participative model promoted by Dalisa. As we can see from the image, this diagram is quite similar to the other. We have always the environmental, social, and economical dimension, but they are, like we can say, displaced in a different way. And also there is another one, another dimension that is very important, that is the participative democracy dimension. So first of all, the two main differences that can stand between the previous model and this one stands in the fact that the environmental dimension has an overarching importance. Every other dimension is inserted into the environmental one. And if this one is not protected, we cannot consider the other one like the other dimension of sustainability. And also, inside the social dimension that contains the economic dimension, there is also participation and democracy. That's, in my opinion, it's very important for every action that is actually done by human communities. If there is no ownership, if there is no appropriation of the action, even a business or a policy or whatever, from the society, from the member of the society, we cannot talk about sustainability over time. Just think a product. If the product is not owned, is not participated by the population, we have no markets. We have no perception of the value of that product. And so it's important then to consider also this dimension if we are talking about sustainable businesses and sustainable entrepreneurship actions. Of course, if we are talking about sustainability, we have to deal with resources. We like slightly understand this point properly in the definition of sustainability. We have to live to be sustainable the world with the same resources available for our future generation. But if we see nature, we can distinguish two types of resources, basically. The renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Basically, the non-renewable resources are the ones that can be regenerated by nature itself by a certain process. Indeed, the non-renewable are the ones that are available like as they are without any possibility to regenerate. And of course, even an excessive exploitation of renewable resources can lead finally to running in a non-renewable situation. Because if you are consume more the resources, more than the rate of regeneration, of course, these resources are going to be exhausted. And so to deal with sustainability, we have to consider like the correct exploitation of our capitals, we can say, capital of resources. So standing to that, we can define different types of capital if we want to talk about sustainability. So here we are. Surely you will know the economical capital is the like most known, at least in our culture. The economical capital is actually the one that is defined by the human community as the one that allow the possibility to act and do certain things. But we have not only the economical capital, we have also the ecological capital in a process. That is the stock of all the renewable resources, all the ones that are like in a way related to the ecosystem, and then to the possibility of the ecosystem itself to renovate such kind of resource. But of course, the environment is not only made by the renewable resources and the ecological capital, but we have to add also the natural capital. It is like the resources that are also non-renewable. Just for example, the minerals and the fossil fuels also can be considered such kind of natural capital. And in general, if we sum all this capital, we can obtain in our system, in our context, a total capital. That is the sum, basically, of the availability of economical, ecological, and natural capital. If we want to talk about sustainable processes, then we have to deal with this capital in a sustainable way. We mentioned a little bit also before, when a process can be considered as sustainable. We can refer to the sustainability equation. Basically, a sustainable development or sustainable process is the one that is going to use the economic capital and the quality of environment, aka the total capital, with a rate that is always measured to zero. So that means that the possibility of the regeneration of the total capital is always positive. So there is always availability of new capital, even for the further iteration, you can say. If this rate is gonna reach zero and even is gonna be negative, of course we are consume the resource that we have available in our system. And finally, this will lead to an unsustainable process that finally is gonna to exhaust the system itself for now, but also for the next generation. Then is not sustainable. So considering the different type of capital and the sustainability equation, we can also define different levels and type of sustainability. For example, we can consider weak sustainability if it is defined only with respect to the economical capital. So a weak sustainable process is the one that stands just from the economical side, but not considering, for example, the ecological and social side. We have a weak sustainability that is defined just to the total capital. So that means that, for example, it is sustainable on the economical capital alone, and also just for the natural capital, so the non-renewable resources. But indeed, the renewable resources are overconsumed. Then we have a strong sustainability that is defined with respect to the ecological capital also. So that means that our process is respecting also the rate of renewable of the renewable resources. So this sustainability is strong because it grants regeneration of also ecological resources. And very strong sustainability when it is defined also in relation to the natural capital. So the rate of consumption of our resources is not just only related to the ecological capital, but considers also the non-renewable resources. And so we have the possibility and the availability to have non-renewable resources for a longer time. So these are levels of sustainability that we can achieve depending on how we design our businesses. And thanks to your design of your system to achieve the best one you want to perceive. Of course, very strong sustainability is going to grant and is going to lead also to regenerativity, because it allows the possibility to go even far beyond the possibility to a zero balance, we can say. We can also regenerate capital. After the scale of very strong sustainability, we can put the regenerativity. So the possibility to increase the rate of availability of resources in our system. So now, having better understand the concept of sustainability, I want to propose some models and tools that can be useful, for example, to design your social businesses and sustainable entrepreneurial businesses with a new mindset. The first one that I want to show is the idea of the community enterprise. The model derives from the strong interrelationship with the community and the land within the business insists. And actually, it creates a sort of collective connection for the production of goods, exchange of knowledge, information, and so on. And it has a multi-stakeholder governance that allows the community itself and the environment itself to be part of the value chain process. And this kind of community enterprise, you can see, for example, in the so-called community-supported agriculture. Community-supported agriculture are like form of farming in which the farmer are supported in decision-making, in crop planting, and so on, by the community of users themselves. So there is not like a sort of intermediation gap between the producer and the consumer. But the producer and the consumer are together involved into the decision making in order to create the best strategies for creating value and the best way to create a product. In this case, the product is the crop. But not only, for example, the crowd sourcing platform, the crowd collection platform are all these new form of community enterprises that allow the community itself and the land itself to participate into the business model and to create the value by the way that knowledge is shared and decision making is shared. Of course, for each business that you are running, you need to design a business canvas model. The business canvas model can be very used for design a value chain that is sustainable. Is a tool that is used in classical business, but that can be also very useful for better understand and better design a sustainable business. But together with that, I want to present also different other, we can say, tools that from the business canvas model, this Italian group of colleagues have developed the platform design toolkit that originally was designed for building IT platform and to understand the ecosystem of users, but can be very adapted, for example, to design new businesses that consider the different dimension that we saw before. So the environmental, social, and economical, but also participative dimension. I will give you a few examples of this set of Canva that the platform design toolkit is providing for the users in order to design better a business or a platform. For example, this is a Canva that is very useful for design the ecosystem of actors that are acting in a certain business. No, we have the platform owners, we have the partners, we have the peer producers, so the ones that, for example, can produce in a peer way, the peer consumer, and so on. And playing into these shapes, you can really visually understand your ecosystem. And it allows you to also think in a more holistic way. In the previous session, we very discovered the importance of turning from just a linear point of view to a more ecological and holistic point of view, also in design processes. And these kind of tools are very useful for making this mindset shift. As well, this is another very interesting Canva that is available into the platform design toolkit, that is a transactional Canva. It actually atomizes each transaction between the different actors. And thanks to that, you can micro understand the interaction between each of the actors and have a clear view in a table about what's happening in your business, in your model, in your activity or platform, what it is. So this is also a nice, very interesting tool that can be used for like build and reasoning on sustainable business models. So that's all on my side. I hope that these elements that I give to you can help to design more sustainable and climate change friendly business. This is the goal of this course that want to like give tools and suggestions for young entrepreneurs to run into social and environmental businesses and so on. And I hope that with this lesson, you at least became curious about these kind of elements. But for any other like inputs, comments, or if you want to interact with me and so on, I'm very pleased to receive your messages and your like contacts. Please feel free to reach me on each one of the link and contacts listed below. And thanks a lot for your attention.